After my younger sister was born, our family suddenly struck it rich, my parents' careers went smoothly, and my elder brother was admitted to Harvard as he wished. However, I remained weak and sickly, sallow and emaciated. My family members all thought that my younger sister was a lucky koi, while I was a jinx. I was given to my poor aunt and left this home. But after that, my parents went bankrupt. My elder brother dropped out of school, and our family was in a desperate situation. On the contrary, my aunt's family thrived and became multi-millionaires. It turned out that I was the lucky koi, and my younger sister was the jinx. The day my younger sister was born, I was exactly 6 years old. Both my parents were in the hospital, and my elder brother gave me a piece of bread, saying it was a birthday cake. I inserted a toothpick into the bread and, imitating the people on TV, put my hands together to make a wish. I wish my parents to be rich, my elder brother to be admitted to Harvard, and everyone to be happy. I silently recited in my heart, looking very serious. Although I didn't have much concept of money at that time, my parents always mentioned money when they quarreled day and night, and when they scolded me, they also said it was all my fault for often getting sick and spending all the money, so I hoped they would be rich, so that they wouldn't quarrel anymore. As for my elder brother, he was in his senior year of high school and often anxious, afraid that he couldn't get into a good university. Sometimes when I brought him water, he would scold me for disturbing him and say that he would beat me to death if he couldn't get into Harvard in the future. I didn't know what Harvard was, but since my elder brother liked it, I made a wish that he would be admitted to Harvard. Are you trying to make me laugh to death? What kind of stupid wish are you making with a piece of bread? Ha ha ha. My elder brother laughed heartily when he saw the bread with the toothpick inserted. You can't say the wish out loud, or it won't come true. This was what they said on TV, and I told my elder brother. He sneered, you must have wished for delicious food. I know you well. It's a pity that you have a younger sister now. From now on, you can only eat the leftovers. My face tightened. At such a young age, I didn't know how to hide my emotions, and the fear in my heart was immediately exposed. Since my mother got pregnant, I had been very scared, because my mother always said, have another good one and don't want you, you good for nothing. Look at your ugly appearance, short and thin, swarthy. It makes me angry just looking at you. She said it for 10 months, and then my younger sister was born. Ha ha ha. Are you scared? Hurry up and brush my shoes. If you don't brush them clean, I won't want you either. My elder brother laughed maliciously. He always liked to stimulate me like this and thought it was fun to see me scared. 3 days after brushing my elder brother's shoes, my parents came back. My mother was wrapped up tightly, my father was holding a baby, and the baby was also wrapped up tightly. Behind them was a simple woman, that was my aunt, and I called her Aunt Lucy. Aunt Lucy was the only one among my relatives who was kind to me. She had always been kind, this time she took the initiative to go to the hospital to take care of my mother and accompany her during childbirth. I ran over to greet them, called my parents and Aunt Lucy, and then helped carry things. When my mother saw me, her face darkened, and she turned her head to scold. Get back to your room, I don't want to see your face. How can you be so ugly? Look at how fair and tender your younger sister is, and how cute she is. My goodness. I stood there not knowing what to do. Aunt Lucy forced a smile and said, Sarah will look better when she grows up. She's still young. She's 6 years old and still young. She's been getting sick since she was a child. I'm almost worn out by her. I have no patience left now. Get out of here. My mother shouted at me. I lowered my head and walked back to my room. My elder brother happened to come out. He didn't even look at me and rushed to see my younger sister. After taking a look, he praised with great joy, wow, so cute. These big eyes and small mouth. This is our family's genes. Julia is really cute. You can tell even at such a young age. And she's especially lively. Look at how her eyes are rolling around. She seems very sensible. My father was overjoyed. There was a smile on my mother's face too. Only Aunt Lucy looked at me with embarrassment and pity. I hid in my room and curled up at the foot of the bed without moving. As long as I was obedient, my parents would still give me the leftovers to eat, right? The day after my younger sister came home, my parents quarreled again. The cause was that my mother wanted to eat cherries, but my father said they were too expensive, and now that they were raising 3 children, they had to save money. My mother was furious and said that she couldn't even have a single cherry during her confinement. My younger sister was so scared that she burst into tears, and my parents stopped quarreling and quickly soothed her. Julia, be good, Mom and Dad aren't quarreling. Don't be afraid, my father had never been so gentle. After calming Julia down, my father sighed and said, "Honey, we can't quarrel anymore, or we'll scare Julia." The fortune teller said that Julia is the lucky star of our family, and she will bring good luck. My father believed in fate very much. My mother didn't believe in it. She used to scold my father for being brainless and believing such things. But now, she nodded repeatedly, "Julia is a lucky star, look how cute she is. She must be a lucky star." Unlike that jinx Sarah, I was standing at the door holding water and listening. I lowered my head again. Perhaps Julia was really a lucky star. My father's business suddenly took off. He had been starting a business for 2 years and had been losing money all the time. But he was unwilling to give up. He borrowed money from all his relatives, friends, and the bank. When I needed money for my illness, he would roar at me about his debts as if I could understand. Now, he finally made progress. "Honey, it's great. I've landed a big order. Just wait. My studio will definitely take off." My father was very excited that night. My elder brother was also infected by his excitement. He put down his book to celebrate and even kissed Julia. "Good lucky star." I raised my sallow face at the age of 6 and smiled obsequiously. My younger sister is really a lucky star. In fact, I didn't quite understand the meaning of a lucky star, but subconsciously, I felt that I should smile. Bad luck. Get out of the way. My father's business began to develop rapidly. There might be a lucky star shining above his head, and it was out of control. In just 3 months, he was already wearing a suit and a tie, running around the city and attending banquets. My mother had already finished her confinement. She originally planned to take care of my younger sister and elder brother at home full-time, but she couldn't stand staying at home and followed my father to do business. So, Aunt Lucy came again. My mother gave her a monthly salary of $3,000 and asked her to take care of the food, clothing, shelter, and transportation of the 3 of us children. I finally felt a little bit of maternal love. Aunt Lucy treated us equally. She liked my elder brother, my younger sister, and me. During the day, she took care of us at my home and often told me some stories. There was one story that I remembered deeply. It was the story of the ugly duckling and the white swan. The ugly duckling was despised since childhood, but in the end, it spread its wings and soared. It turned out that it was a white swan. At night, Aunt Lucy went back to her own home. The home returned to its original state. I curled up at the foot of the bed alone again, writing in my diary and flipping through books, while my parents and elder brother were in the hall imagining the future and holding Julia affectionately. Julia is really a lucky star. My grades have improved a lot, and I'm already in the top 10 of my grade. I feel that I have a chance to apply for Harvard. My elder brother mentioned Harvard again. My parents were overjoyed, and the whole house was filled with laughter. On the day my elder brother was admitted to Harvard, my father's company was officially established and was no longer a small studio. In just over half a year, he had already become the general manager, and my mother became the boss's wife. Our family became rich like this, and even my elder brother's entrance celebration banquet was held in a big hotel. On that day, there were a lot of guests, and more than 30 tables were filled. I had never seen such a grand occasion before, and I was both nervous and curious. Moreover, my parents were in a good mood today and didn't lock me in the room and not let me see people. Of course, the main reason might be that I needed to carry Julia on my back. My parents and elder brother were very busy, and Aunt Lucy was giving instructions in the back kitchen. I carried Julia on my back, holding her buttocks with both hands, and sat there quietly. I was already very skilled at this. I had carried Julia on my back many times at home. I occasionally turned my head to look at Julia. Her big, bright, and lively eyes kept turning. Her eyelashes were long and thin, and her face was pink and cute. The guests coming and going all stopped to look at Julia and praised her for being so beautiful. Then I held my chest high and was very proud. Yes, my younger sister is really beautiful. As a result, a guest accidentally kicked the stool, and I fell down, landing on my side. I quickly protected my sister's head. My sister burst into tears. Attracting the attention of the whole audience, my parents rushed over in a few strides, looking very anxious. "How did you take care of the baby, useless thing?" My mother slapped me and quickly took Julia. My father kicked me and touched Julia's forehead with heartache. I was frightened and flustered, and tears fell from my eyes. Cry, cry, cry. Why don't you get lost? You're embarrassing us. My mother was furious and wanted to slap me again, in my bewilderment. Aunt Lucy ran over and picked me up. While smiling and trying to smooth things over, she said, "Haha, the child didn't sit firmly. It's okay, everyone, please take your seats. Let's get drunk today and not go home until we're satisfied." The guests took their seats, and Aunt Lucy carried me to the back kitchen. It turned out that Aunt Lucy used to work here. She knew the people in the back kitchen, so she came to urge them to serve the dishes and so on. I sat on a small stool in the back kitchen. In front of me were dining carts, and there were delicious foods on the carts. I was drooling, and Aunt Lucy somehow found a roasted squab for me to eat. I buried my head and started eating. I didn't even notice that the corner of my mouth was bleeding, which was caused by my mother's slap. Halfway through eating, I looked up and found that Aunt Lucy was crying. I asked her why she was crying. She squatted down and hugged me. "Sarah, you poor thing. What was so pitiful?" After the banquet was over, my parents and elder brother were already gone. Aunt Lucy couldn't find them and could only send me home alone. When knocking on the door, my mother's voice came from inside the house. "Don't bring her back. She looks unlucky. I'm really afraid that her bad luck will be passed on to Julia. If you like her so much, take her away." Aunt Lucy was very embarrassed. I took Sarah to the back kitchen to help before. There weren't enough people. "Lucy, you don't have any children, do you? I'll give her to you. Take her away," my father shouted through the door. My elder brother opened the door a crack and glanced at me expressionlessly. "We're going to move to a big flat soon. This house is going to be sold. You can find a place to live by yourself. It's good to follow Aunt Lucy." I didn't say anything, but I suddenly understood a lot of things. I understood the meaning of pitiful, so my tears flowed down. Aunt Lucy was rarely angry. She questioned in a trembling voice, "Are you still human? You don't want your own child anymore. Are you noble just because you have money? Who washed your clothes and shoes?" "I did. When our family was poor before, my mother wouldn't let us use the washing machine. I washed them all by hand. In the big winter, it would make my skin peel off from the cold." "Lucy, what are you yelling about? Sarah is just a jinx and a bad luck charm. I just don't want her anymore. So what?" My mother rushed out and pointed at Aunt Lucy's face and scolded. Aunt Lucy suddenly became timid. Her lips were quivering, and her cheeks were red. My father also came out and hummed unhappily, "Lucy, if you want this jinx, take her away. Look at her. She looks like a dead monkey. She looks unlucky. I lost my job because of her back then." She answered my leader's call randomly, and I don't know what she said to make the leader so angry. My father scolded me viciously. I shook my head vigorously. I just said hello to the uncle, and he hung up the phone. "Shut up. You're just a bad luck bringer. If it weren't for your younger sister being born, our family wouldn't know how long we would have been unlucky." My father turned his head to look at Julia in the cradle in the living room, and his face immediately softened. "Your younger sister is really a lucky star. Look how beautiful and cute she is." Julia was sitting in the cradle, looking at us with her big eyes, ignorant and delicate. Aunt Lucy took me away. She carried me on her back and walked step by step towards the old city area. It was 8 kilometers away. I lay on her back, blowing the summer evening breeze, and I don't know when I fell asleep. When I woke up, Aunt Lucy's husband came back from the night shift. Aunt Lucy carried me out and forced a smile to explain, "Husband, Sarah will live in our house from now on." "Okay." My uncle was stunned, and his tired body bent even more. He asked why. Aunt Lucy then explained it. My uncle's face darkened. He wanted to curse several times but held back. Finally, he let out a deep sigh and pinched my face with his dirty hands. Forget it. Forget it. You're unlucky. And I'm even more unlucky. We're all unlucky people. Stay here." So I stayed. My uncle was a rough man with a strong sense of responsibility. As soon as he agreed to keep me, he immediately got busy. First, he renovated the small storage room, then he picked up a wooden bed, and finally, he hung up the mosquito net. "You can live here. We don't have much money at home. Just make do with it. We'll raise you on a tight budget." My uncle wiped the sweat off his face and yawned, like my parents. He also liked to talk about money, so I put my hands together and made a wish. "Uncle, I wish you a lot of money." My uncle laughed heartily and turned his head to Aunt Lucy at the door and said, "Look, this child can speak. I'll go buy a lottery ticket tonight and win $5 million. Buying lottery tickets again, wasting that money." Aunt Lucy was not happy. My uncle shrugged and didn't say anything more. At night, my uncle got up, had a meal, and went to the night shift. However, half an hour after going out, he called home. Aunt Lucy thought something had happened and quickly asked what was wrong. Wife, guess what? Ha ha ha, my goodness, I won. My uncle was almost crazy with joy. What did you win? The scratch lottery. I casually scratched a $2 one, and I actually won $50,000. It's the first prize. Holy cow, a lot of money. My uncle won the top prize in the scratch lottery, $50,000. Aunt Lucy was stunned. She asked several times on the phone, unable to believe it. It's really $50,000. You wait, I'm coming back right away. My uncle didn't go to the night shift anymore. Presumably, he didn't have the mood to go either. Aunt Lucy couldn't stop smiling. She walked around for a while, sat down for a while, and then hugged me and kissed me, saying, Sarah, you're really our lucky star. Was I a lucky star? Julia was the lucky star. It took a long time for my uncle to come back. As soon as Aunt Lucy opened the door, she asked, why did it take so long? Is there really $50,000? Yes. I went to buy a fan for Sarah. I also bought KFC, look, a family bucket. My uncle held a fan in one hand and KFC in the other, with a simple and honest look of joy on his face. Aunt Lucy was completely reassured. She took the fan and then picked up the KFC and smelled it, saying, so this is KFC, it smells really good. I also smelled the fragrance. And I knew about KFC, my elder brother often bought it. But he basically ate it by himself in the study. Occasionally, if he couldn't finish the French fries and chicken nuggets, he would throw them to me to finish. Uncle, does KFC have chicken wings? I walked over, swallowing my saliva. My uncle laughed heartily and picked me up, saying, yes, there are several. They are specially bought for you, my dear Sarah, my lucky star. I smiled. I liked the word, lucky star. There was non-stop laughter and chatter in the house that night. I blew the fan and ate the chicken wings, listening to my uncle and Aunt Lucy looking forward to the future. With this $50,000, I can buy a second-hand van to deliver express parcels, and save the rest of the money. As long as I'm diligent in delivering express parcels, I can earn $7,000 or $8,000 a month. Our good days are coming. My uncle waved his big rough hand, as if sketching a blueprint. Aunt Lucy giggled and kept nodding. My uncle bought a van. He went to deliver express parcels. Every morning, Aunt Lucy and I would see him off at the door. Every time, I would put my hands together and make a wish, saying, I wish Uncle a lot of money. Maybe God heard my wish. My uncle's express delivery job went very smoothly. The customers he met were also very friendly. Moreover, a month later, he got a good opportunity. The boss of a station in the south of the city is going to settle in the provincial capital. He said that seeing how down-to-earth and diligent I am, he is willing to transfer the station to me for $100,000, and I can earn it back in half a year. My uncle told us about this good opportunity when he came back that night. Is it a scam? I heard that the station in the south of the city can easily earn $20,000 or $30,000 a month. Why would he transfer it to you? Aunt Lucy didn't believe it. My uncle scratched his head and smiled sheepishly, saying, the station caught fire half a month ago. The boss happened to be there, and I saved him, so he wants to repay me. Caught fire. Aunt Lucy was shocked. Why didn't you tell me? What's there to talk about? It was just a piece of cake. My uncle didn't care. It made Aunt Lucy so angry that she hit him. He was so reckless. After some commotion, the topic went back to the station. With $100,000, they could take over a station with an annual income of $200,000 or $300,000. Aunt Lucy was also tempted. She paced back and forth, thinking, and said that they didn't have much savings at home. They only had $20,000 left from the scratch lottery, and they were still short of $80,000. My uncle took a sip of beer and then hesitated, saying, your brother's family has made a fortune, right? Can we borrow $80,000 from them? My uncle was referring to my father, who was Aunt Lucy's elder brother. Shoo, don't mention this. Aunt Lucy stopped the topic, pulled my uncle into the room, and told me to eat by myself and eat more. I still didn't understand what they were avoiding. Maybe they didn't want to mention my father. I didn't care either. I ate happily. In the past, when I was at home, I always ate carefully. I had never been so relaxed before. The next day, my uncle didn't go to deliver express parcels. He took Aunt Lucy and me to my parents' house. Sarah, we need to talk to your parents about something. You just wait for us in the car. Aunt Lucy asked me to sit in the van by myself and wait. She and my uncle went upstairs. I leaned against the car window and looked up at my former home. I looked for a long time, but Aunt Lucy and my uncle didn't come down. But suddenly, I heard a loud, "Get out." The sound was so loud that it came through the stairwell, making me shiver all over. It was my mother's voice. My heart tightened, and I shrank back into the car. But I was also worried about Aunt Lucy and my uncle. I don't know where I got the courage, but I opened the door and ran down. I ran upstairs to find Aunt Lucy and my uncle. When I reached the corner of my former home, I heard Aunt Lucy crying, "We just want to borrow $80,000. If you don't want to lend it, that's fine." But there's no need to swear like this, right? Borrow, you're just relying on the fact that you raised our daughter to ask for money, aren't you? Let me tell you, Lucy, whether Sarah is alive or dead has nothing to do with me. Don't use her to ask for money. My mother cursed. My father also spoke, saying, "Lucy, you never used to borrow money from us. Now that you've raised Sarah, do you think you have credit? You should remember that you took Sarah away by yourself. We didn't force you." I leaned against the wall, and tears started to fall again. Finally, my uncle said hoarsely, "Forget it, let's go." He pulled Aunt Lucy and was about to leave. After walking a few steps, they saw me. Aunt Lucy wiped her tears and picked me up, saying, "Sarah, why did you come?" "Sure enough, Lucy, you want to send this jinx back, don't you?" "No way. Let me tell you, we don't want her. You can just throw her on the street." My mother cursed and slammed the door shut. My uncle carried me downstairs on his back, and Aunt Lucy sobbed softly behind us. When we got back to the car, the atmosphere was oppressive. My uncle's back bent again. He must be very worried. Where could he find $80,000? Maybe I wasn't a lucky star. Otherwise, why was my uncle so pitiful? Hey, why don't we buy a scratch lottery ticket and give it a try? Maybe we'll win again. My uncle suddenly clapped his hands and turned around to smile at us. His smile was weathered, like the wrinkles on the ancient earth. With a feigned strength, Aunt Lucy sighed and said, "Let's go home. It's okay if we don't get the station. We can still make money by delivering express parcels." "Hey, what's the point of going home? Let's buy a scratch lottery ticket first. We have a lucky star with us." My uncle pinched my little face and stepped on the gas pedal. We soon arrived at the lottery station. My uncle carried me in one hand and held Aunt Lucy's hand with the other and went in. I felt that he didn't come to buy lottery tickets. He seemed more like he was taking us to have fun. "Watch this. One ticket will work wonders." My uncle rubbed his hands and scratched open a ticket, but he didn't win. He then forced a smile. Aunt Lucy gave him a glare and said, "There you go, another $2 gone. It would have been better to buy an ice cream for Sarah." My uncle scratched his head and asked Aunt Lucy to buy one and give it a try. Aunt Lucy refused at first, but she couldn't stand my uncle's urging, so she scratched one. Still, she didn't win. Now, $4 was gone. "Okay, honey, let's stop playing and go home for dinner." Aunt Lucy wasn't angry. Instead, she soothed my uncle. I thought they were really nice. Their way of getting along was completely different from that of my parents. My uncle nodded and took us home. When we reached the door, he slapped his head and said, "Sarah hasn't scratched one yet. Let Sarah have a try too." Aunt Lucy hit him and asked me if I wanted to give it a try. I nodded and said, I wanted to play." We turned back. The boss had been sizing us up. When he saw us turn back, he took out a kind of multicolored scratch lottery ticket. "Your family must have a hard time, right? Scratch this one. It's a new variety. There's a chance to win $100,000. The boss pointed to the stack of multicolored scratch lottery tickets. $100,000. What kind of variety is this? 5 blessings descend upon the house. There wasn't this kind before, the boss replied, holding a cigarette in his mouth. Aunt Lucy asked me to draw one and scratch it. I stood on tiptoe and drew one. This was the one. Aunt Lucy helped me scratch it open. At first, she had a smile on her face, but suddenly her whole face froze, and she was extremely shocked. "What's wrong?" My uncle leaned in to take a look. "For this kind of scratch lottery ticket, if you scratch any number in the frame, you can win money, right? Let me see, 38. The number was 38. The boss craned his neck to take a look and said, "Find the frame where 38 is located and see the corresponding prize." Holy crap. The boss opened his mouth wide, and the cigarette butt fell into his crotch. The prize corresponding to 38 was $100,000. All 3 adults were stunned. the boss's crotch was burned through by the cigarette butt. My uncle held the scratch lottery ticket and looked at it several times. Aunt Lucy covered her mouth, and tears were almost coming out. I knew we had money again, $100,000. My uncle could take over that express delivery station. My goodness, Sarah, my lucky star. My uncle finally came to his senses and picked me up and kissed me non-stop. His beard tickled me, and I giggled. Aunt Lucy couldn't hold it in anymore and burst into tears of joy. The boss was still there pulling at his crotch. We scratched several more tickets, but we didn't win any of them. My uncle stopped and happily exchanged the $100,000. Now, the express delivery station in the south of the city was ours. My uncle said that that station was one of the best stations in the south of the city. It could earn at least $200,000 a year. If it was a good time, it could even earn $300,000. I didn't quite understand, but as long as he and Aunt Lucy were happy, that was fine. The express delivery station in the south of the city became the lucky star of our family. Since my uncle took over, it has been thriving. The number of incoming and outgoing parcels has been increasing day by day, and it can earn more than $40,000 every month. At the end of autumn, my uncle took over another station, which was also in the south of the city. The number of incoming parcels was a little less, but the annual income could also exceed $300,000. At the beginning of winter, we moved to a big apartment and left the small and shabby rented house. There was a bathroom, an air conditioner, and a balcony in this apartment. If it wasn't for Sarah, I wouldn't be willing to rent such an expensive place. We men aren't used to living in such a nice place. My uncle was also very happy when he moved into the new house. He put me on his shoulders and cooked. At this time, Aunt Lucy came in with a mobile phone. After hesitating for a while, she said, "My brother's daughter, Julia, is turning 1 year old. They are going to hold a banquet in a hotel tomorrow. Should we go?" Julia was 1 year old. Time really flew by. Then I was 7 years old. My uncle curled his lips and said, "Why go, to be scolded? It's not like that. After all, Sarah's household registration is still in my brother's house. We will have to trouble my brother for things like going to school, if we don't go." Aunt Lucy was worried that I wouldn't be able to go to school. My uncle hummed reluctantly, "Okay, we could go then." The next day, we went to the hotel. The same hotel where my elder brother held his entrance celebration banquet. There were still a lot of guests. Relatives from far away came, because my parents' family was very rich now, according to Aunt Lucy. My parents might have several $1,000,000 in assets. My elder brother was studying at Harvard, bringing honor to the family. I don't know how many relatives were envious of them. I followed my uncle and Aunt Lucy into the hotel. I was 7 years old, a little taller and a little fairer, but I was still as nervous and uneasy as I was when I was 6 years old. "Lucy is here too. Oh, you've put on some weight. You must have made a lot of money, right?" A relative came over to greet us. This surprised me because no relative had ever greeted Aunt Lucy before. No, it's still the same. Aunt Lucy was modest. "Come on, everyone knows that your family has opened 2 express delivery stations. You can earn millions of dollars a year, right? You're really rich." The relative laughed and then caught sight of me and praised, "Sarah has grown so beautiful. I can hardly recognize you." I couldn't believe that someone would praise me. I was both surprised and shy. And I quickly hid behind my uncle. My uncle laughed heartily and looked ahead. My parents came over. My father was dressed in a suit, and my mother was wearing luxurious clothes. She was holding Julia in her arms. Julia looked at us with her big eyes. Her face was pink, just like a princess in a fairy tale. My elder brother didn't show up. Aunt Lucy took the initiative to greet them, saying, "Brother, sister-in-law, how are you? Come if you want, but why did you bring her? Isn't this bad luck?" My mother pointed at me, extremely unhappy. My father didn't scold me, but he didn't say anything either, as if he were a stranger. My uncle got angry and said, "Who is the one with bad luck? Some people are unlucky themselves but say others are unlucky. Their mouths stink." My uncle's pent-up anger for a long time burst out all at once. All the relatives and friends nearby fell silent. My mother was stunned, presumably. She didn't expect my uncle to be so excited and dare to talk back. Her cheeks turned red, and she also exploded in anger, saying, "Sam, you're scolding me. Do you think you can act high and mighty just because you've made a little money delivering express parcels? You son of a bitch, you can't even have a son. My son is studying at Harvard, and my Julia will study at Harvard in the future too. My mother's words were very vicious. She directly poked at my uncle's sore spot. My uncle and aunt had never had a child, let alone a child studying at Harvard. You shameless thing. Who do you think you are? My uncle rolled up his sleeves, and his face turned crimson. There was chaos at the banquet. Many children were scared and cried. Julia also cried and was taken away by a relative. Aunt Lucy carried me outside. Her eyes were red. I looked at my mother, who was like a shrew, and at my father, who was pushing my uncle. Suddenly, I understood a lot of things again. I didn't cry. I just made a wish in my heart. I don't want my parents to be rich anymore. I don't want my elder brother to study at Harvard anymore. I want my uncle and aunt to have a lot of money. I want my uncle and aunt to have their own children. The full moon banquet for Julia was in utter chaos. Aunt Lucy and I stood at the door, witnessing everything. My father and my uncle were pushing and shoving, and then they started fighting. So many relatives tried to stop them, but they couldn't. My mother stood with one hand on her hip and pointed at Aunt Lucy at the door with the other hand, shouting, "Lucy, you're really something. You brought your husband here to cause trouble, didn't you? You're also a jinx. Just like that little jinx. Go to hell." Aunt Lucy held me in her arms and pressed her lips together without saying a word. Seeing the chaotic situation, my father's phone suddenly rang. He didn't have the time to answer it. So my mother shouted, "Sam, try hitting him again. If my husband misses a business deal because of you, I'll kill you." The call was presumably from a business partner and was very important. My uncle was panting heavily and was forcefully pulled apart by 3 relatives. My father wiped the blood off his face, spat out a mouthful of saliva viciously, and then took out his phone. "It's my son calling, my son from Harvard, my son from Harvard." My father raised his phone to show my uncle, and then deliberately turned on the speakerphone to answer the call. "Son, what's up? Your mother and I are holding a banquet for Julia. When will you have a holiday?" my father asked loudly. My elder brother's voice didn't come through. The voice of a middle-aged man came. "Are you the parent of Carl? We are from the AS District Police Station in B City." My father frowned. "The police station? What's going on?" "I'm Carl's father." Everyone around fell silent and listened curiously. Carl was caught on the spot for secretly taking photos up a girl's skirt in the Harvard cafeteria just now. "Please come to the police station, parents." "What?" My father's voice trembled violently, and his face was filled with disbelief. There was an uproar in the whole place. My mother was even more out of control. She snatched the phone and cursed. "Is this a scam call? Fuck you. Your whole family will die." "What did you say? Watch your words." "We are from the AS District Police Station in B City." The policeman was angry. My mother was about to continue cursing, but my father was quick and snatched the phone back, turned off the speakerphone, and walked away quickly while answering the call. And so, Julia's full moon banquet ended like this. My parents left the venue, and the relatives had no choice but to leave too, but everyone was talking about it. And the topic was naturally about my elder brother secretly taking photos up a girl's skirt. On the way home, I asked Aunt Lucy, "What happened to my elder brother?" Aunt Lucy was embarrassed and shook her head without saying a word. My uncle wanted to laugh but also shook his head. Carl was just spoiled. He was lawless when he was a child. As long as he did well in his studies, he could do anything. Now look, his spoiled behavior has caused trouble, right? That's right. My elder brother could do anything as long as he did well in his studies. 2 days later, I heard from my uncle that my elder brother had been expelled from Harvard and would also be detained for 10 days. My parents couldn't hold their heads up now and had even quit the family group. They used to be very active in the family group before. Aunt Lucy didn't want to talk about these things. She tapped my uncle and said, "Don't meddle in other people's business. Just focus on living our own lives well." "Okay." My uncle was full of energy. His business started to develop rapidly. Strangely enough, the 2 stations that my uncle took over were making more and more money. The number of parcels being sent out every day was quite large, while other stations were doing poorly in comparison. By the next summer, when I was 7.5 years old, my uncle gritted his teeth and took over 2 more stations. Aunt Lucy was a bit worried. "Now we have 4 stations. We haven't been in this business for that long. We can't take such big steps. Whether a person can make money depends on those 2 or 3 years. I'm already in a situation where I have to take action. With Sarah, our lucky star, we won't lose money." My uncle might seem simple and honest, but he had great ambitions in his heart. He was right. All 4 stations were profitable. and each station's profit was over $400,000. In this way, the annual income was at least $1.6 million. I feel like I'm dreaming. How about you? Aunt Lucy asked my uncle after calculating the income. I feel like I'm dreaming too. How about you? My uncle nodded and looked at me. I was digging into the KFC family bucket. To be honest, the chicken breast at the bottom of the KFC family bucket tasted really bad. I think the spicy chicken wings are better, I said. Our family became wealthy. I became more beautiful. It seemed that every few months, I would change and become more attractive. Aunt Lucy specially bought me a full-length mirror. She helped me dress up and comb my hair every day and praised me for becoming more and more beautiful. I didn't have a clear concept of beauty. I just felt that I had grown taller, fairer, and a bit plumper. This must be what being beautiful means. My uncle bought a BMW a while ago and started running some business. I don't know exactly what kind of business it is. Aunt Lucy no longer needed to do odd jobs. She stayed at home with me and kept the house clean and tidy. At night, she and my uncle would whisper to each other. They thought I was asleep, but actually, I was eavesdropping. I heard that my elder brother hasn't been doing well recently. His company is in trouble. Alas, it seems that what happened to Carl really hit him hard. They were talking about my parents. The industry he's in goes downhill quickly. He can only make money for a year or two. My uncle now spoke with the air of a big boss. Now that we have money, we shouldn't make random investments. Let's buy a house first. It'll also give Sarah a home. Sometimes they would talk about buying a house. Aunt Lucy wanted to buy a house. My uncle thought for a while and said, if we're going to buy a house, we should buy a large flat. Let's get it all settled at once. It should be in the city center with a good school district. It doesn't matter if it's expensive. We can easily afford the down payment. I often fell asleep while listening to them talking. In a daze, I heard them laughing again. Shall we try? Let's have a baby and let Sarah be an elder sister, you old rascal. When the autumn wind blew, Aunt Lucy got pregnant. When they got the examination results, she and my uncle hugged each other and cried. I thought they would love their child very much. I stood by and smiled. Aunt Lucy hugged me tightly with tears in her eyes. Sarah, whether you have a little brother or a little sister, Aunt will always treat you like her own child. Sarah, your aunt and I have been wanting a child for more than 10 years. Don't worry, you are just like my own child. You'll have half of everything in this family, my uncle said seriously. It seemed that he was afraid I would be sad. I wasn't sad. I was very happy. As long as I can eat KFC chicken wings, that's fine, I giggled. My uncle and aunt looked at each other and hugged me tightly. After Aunt Lucy got pregnant, my uncle forced himself to spend more time at home, and he started thinking about arranging for me. I have a friend in the Public Security Bureau. I asked him about some things. My uncle paced in the living room. Aunt Lucy asked him what he wanted to say. My uncle looked at me and said, we have to transfer Sarah's household registration here. She will be my daughter from now on and will take your surname. Aunt Lucy was delighted. Can it be done? It must be difficult, right? As long as your elder brother gives the nod, it won't be difficult. Let's go find my elder brother. My uncle and Aunt Lucy took me with them and set off again. On the way, Aunt Lucy made a phone call and asked where my elder brother was. This was the first call she had made in months. After hanging up the phone, Aunt Lucy sighed. It seems that my elder brother has suffered heavy losses. He actually moved back to the old house. And the newly bought large flat is up for sale again. That bad? Come to think of it, he didn't even invite us to dinner when he moved into the new house. We don't even know where his new house is. My uncle said indignantly, we don't need to know, let's go to the old house. Fortunately, the old house hasn't been sold yet, otherwise, they would have nowhere to live. We went to the old house, looking at the familiar house and the corridor. My palms started to sweat. After all this time, I was still afraid of this place. To be more precise, I was afraid of the people here. My uncle parked the Mercedes-Benz and came over to hold my hand. He and Aunt Lucy each held one of my hands. Just as we were about to go upstairs, my father came down. He was wearing home clothes and slippers. His face was sallow, and he had lost a lot of weight. When we met, my father's first glance was fixed on the Mercedes-Benz parked by the roadside. June, is this your new car? My father shook hands with my uncle. My uncle nodded. Yes, I bought it last month. I traded in the previous BMW for it. you have money." My father smiled awkwardly and then shook hands with my aunt. "Lucy, long time no see, you've become more beautiful." "I'm not the one who's become more beautiful. Sarah is the one who's become beautiful. Look at her." Aunt Lucy picked me up affectionately. I had grown a lot taller, become much fairer, was wearing nicer clothes. And my hair was neater. My father was taken aback when he saw me. He stared at me for a long time before he recognized me. "It's really Sarah, you've grown up, grown up. Come, let Daddy hug you." My father stretched out his hands. I instinctively shrank back. He scratched his head awkwardly and invited us to go upstairs. When we entered the house, a strange smell wafted over. The house was in a mess. The table wasn't cleaned up, and some takeout boxes were casually placed on it. "Your sister-in-law is Julia to sleep. Let's sit in the living room." My father asked us to sit down and poured us tea. I scanned this familiar house, but I couldn't find the slightest familiar atmosphere. The only thing that was familiar was the door of my elder brother's study, which had always been closed. Suddenly, it opened. My elder brother came out with his hair in a mess like a bird's nest, scratching his sagging belly, his eyes looking bleary. He had gained at least 30 pounds. He looked listless, and even his eye gunk wasn't wiped clean. From behind the door where he came out, the sound of a game could be heard. "You finally decided to come out. All you do every day is play games and don't even sleep. You're such a waste." My father cursed as soon as he saw my elder brother. My elder brother yawned as he went to pour water. Then he saw us. He didn't react much when he saw my uncle and aunt, but when he saw me, I sat there quietly, with my hair in pigtails, wearing a white dress, looking very well behaved. My elder brother looked at me for a long time and didn't say a word. Aunt Lucy stood up. "Carl, this is Sarah. Don't you recognize her?" "Sarah," my elder brother mumbled and turned his eyes away. And then turned them back. He just looked at me and showed a very complicated smile. "My little sister is back. You become so beautiful." I held Aunt Lucy's hand and kept my head down. My elder brother forced a smile. He didn't pour the water anymore and quickly went back to his study, as if he was running away from something. My uncle started to get down to business. He and Aunt Lucy wanted to officially adopt me. As long as my father agreed, he could make it happen. Before my father could speak, my mother suddenly rushed out. "You want to transfer Sarah's household registration? That's not possible. Sarah is our precious daughter. No matter what you say, it's not going to happen." My mother was firm and domineering. She had also lost a lot of weight, but she was still fierce, and her eyes were full of greed. She wanted to use me to make some money. My uncle was furious. "Your precious daughter. She's your precious daughter now. What's wrong with that, Sam? Don't think you're so great just because you have a little money. It's just a few express delivery stores, right? At most, you can only earn $1 million. Once our company gets through this difficult time, it can easily earn tens of millions." My mother was always arrogant. She had always looked down on my uncle and Aunt Lucy. Even now, my uncle was so angry that he stood up. Aunt Lucy quickly tried to smooth things over. "Don't argue. Everyone, let me speak." She looked at my mother and said, "Sister-in-law, I know you're in a difficult situation now. How about this? I'll give you $100,000. And you let Sarah transfer her household registration." My mother's eyes lit up, and she exchanged a glance with my father. My father immediately understood and said coldly, "No, no, Sarah is our biological daughter. We're not selling our daughter." My father's attitude changed all of a sudden, just like my mother's. "Damn it, you really have no shame at all. You abandoned Sarah for so long. And now she's your biological daughter again." My uncle cursed. "Sam, try cursing again. I'm telling you, you're just a lowly express delivery guy. You have no right to curse me." My mother kicked over the teacup. I shrank back and covered my ears. Tears welled up again. I wasn't crying because I was scared. I was just feeling sad. After half an hour of arguing, Aunt Lucy compromised first. She directly asked, "How much money do you want?" My mother pretended to shake her head. And my father stretched out 5 fingers. $500,000. "Sarah is yours then. You're so damn shameless." My uncle was so angry that his neck turned red. Aunt Lucy held me tightly. "Okay." Tears streamed down my face as I watched my parents' faces blur more and more in my sight. $500,000. And Sarah is no longer yours. I got a new household registration. Although there was no change in my studies and going to school, I felt like I was reborn. Aunt Lucy learned how to drive and bought a Mini. She sent me to school every day. When I got out of the car, she would help me tidy my hair, adjust my collar, and then say that I was really beautiful. I understood the meaning of beauty, because there were always little boys writing love letters to me. They were all just primary school students. How shameless. When the winter vacation came, I was exactly 8 years old. Aunt Lucy took me to eat steak, and my uncle was late. We both stared at him. He begged for mercy and then happily took out his phone to show us the photos. Wife, Sarah, what do you think of this house? I've been choosing for months, and I've finally set my eyes on this one. It wasn't easy, my uncle said. My uncle had been talking about buying a house for a long time, but he had only just made a decision now. It looks nice, although it's a second-hand house. It's very new, and the decoration is good too. Aunt Lucy's eyes sparkled. I liked it too because I saw that there was a very beautiful baby room in it, and there was also a hanging basket. When the little brother or little sister is born, they can sleep here. I pointed at the baby room and then looked at Aunt Lucy's belly. Her belly was already a bit rounded. Then this is the one, we'll buy it tomorrow. My uncle had plenty of money and was confident. With a wave of his hand, he made the decision. The next day, we went to buy the house. I had a new home. Since we had a new home, we needed to hold a banquet. Aunt Lucy wanted to hold it at home to save some money. My uncle glared. Holding it at home is a bad idea. Are you going to clean up the mess? Let's go to a hotel directly. I insist on holding it at a hotel. Aunt Lucy gave him a glare. She knew he wanted to show off, so she let him have his way. After sending out the invitations, the relatives responded one after another, saying they would definitely attend the banquet. I bought a new dress the night before. Aunt Lucy bought it for me. She took me to try on clothes for a long time, matching them one by one. I was even tired of trying them on. Sarah looks good in anything. Let's just go with this one. Aunt Lucy was also tired of choosing in the end and said with a mix of laughter and tears. She was greedy. She always thought the next set of clothes would be even better. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought this pink plush coat was particularly cool. My black shoes were particularly cool, and my ponytail was particularly cool. Yes, I'm so cool. The housewarming banquet began. My uncle was in high spirits and beaming with pride. He stood at the door to greet every relative and friend, and everyone complimented him. Aunt Lucy wore an expensive coat to cover her pregnant belly and greeted the guests with a smile. I followed her and greeted the guests. Sarah is really beautiful. She has been raised so well. It's only been a few years, indeed. Daughters should be raised in a well-off environment. Lucy is so lucky. What a wonderful daughter she has. Everyone was praising me, which made me stunned for a moment. I remembered that they used to praise Julia, my younger sister. She was the most beautiful. I smiled and thanked everyone. Aunt Lucy greeted the guests and then pulled me to the door to find my uncle. Husband, is there anyone who hasn't arrived yet? Aunt Lucy asked. Everyone is here except your elder brother. My uncle pouted. Aunt Lucy was speechless, and I didn't know what she was thinking. Just then, my parents and elder brother came. My elder brother had lost weight, got a short haircut, wore glasses, and his clothes were decent. He had changed a lot. My parents also looked more energetic and not as decadent as before. Perhaps the $500,000 had helped them a great deal. My mother carried Julia on her back. She stuck her head out and looked at us with her big black eyes. I looked into her eyes. She looked at me curiously and made some indistinct sounds. She was 2 years old and could say some words. I still thought she was very beautiful, fair and pink. However, I was also beautiful, fair and pink. Brother, you're here. Aunt Lucy stepped forward to greet them, not very enthusiastically but maintaining basic politeness. My father smiled. We're here. My mother stared at me and moved her throat. Is she Sarah? Yes. Don't you recognize her? There was mockery in my uncle's words. My mother pursed her lips, picked up Julia and kissed her. I recognize her. She's my daughter, my dear daughter. She kissed Julia hard. My father coughed, pulled my elder brother over, and looked a bit proud. I brought Carl here too. He's really capable now. He writes manuscripts for the TV station and has a position in the public institution. Yes, Carl has a stable job now. He doesn't have to worry in the future. A stable job is really good. No matter how much millions you earn outside, you'll still feel anxious. With a stable job, you can be at ease for a lifetime. My mother showed off. She was mocking my uncle. My uncle snorted coldly, and the atmosphere became subtle. My elder brother seemed to be out of it. He only looked at me. Finally, he said something out of the blue. It seems that Sarah is the lucky star. Without her, our family would have fallen apart. What nonsense are you talking about? My mother was furious, as if she had been hit on a sore spot. My father was also angry. My elder brother's words had embarrassed him. My elder brother didn't say anything more and stood there in silence. The banquet continued. My uncle and Aunt Lucy stopped paying attention to my parents' family and went to entertain others. The atmosphere was very harmonious, and everywhere was filled with joy. After drinking several rounds of wine, a relative suggested going to take a look at our new house. Otherwise, it would be a wasted trip. My uncle readily agreed. Everyone, after you've eaten and drunk your fill, come to my house and have a seat. It's a housewarming celebration. The more people, the livelier it will be. After the banquet ended, many relatives set off for my home. My parents and elder brother also followed. Sam has made a lot of money from his express delivery stations and even bought a new house. But I guess it's on a mortgage, right? I'll go and have a look. My mother deliberately said such things. No one paid attention to her. She pulled over a woman and chattered. We've sold our big flat. Now we have a lot of money. We don't want to start a business anymore. We're going to buy a new house for our retirement. Why did you sell the big flat if you're not starting a business? That was such a nice house. The relatives were puzzled. My mother was embarrassed and mumbled that they had to pay off debts and that they could just buy a smaller new house for retirement. They didn't need a big one. No one paid attention to her again. Finally, we arrived at the destination. Our group walked into the residential area one after another. My mother exclaimed in surprise, "Isn't this Rose Garden? Our previous big flat was here." "Yes, what a coincidence, isn't it?" The relatives were amazed. Back then, my mother bought the big flat and invited all the relatives to dinner, except my uncle and aunt. My uncle and Aunt Lucy were also surprised. What a coincidence. However, an even more coincidental thing happened. Our new house was the one that my parents had sold. The transaction was carried out through a real estate agency. So the two parties hadn't met at all. All the relatives were stunned. My mother's face turned red, and she stood at the door and cursed. "Sam, Lucy, you damned bastards, you're deliberately trying to disgust us, aren't you, you bastards? May you have no descendants." My mother cursed extremely vulgarly, and my father also had a dark face. My uncle was furious and kicked my mother to the ground. "Try cursing again." Aunt Lucy quickly stopped him and explained loudly. "We didn't know this house was the one you sold. You didn't invite us when you moved into your new house before." "Shut up, you bitch. You think you can be arrogant just because you have money? I'll burn your house down. How dare you bully me? How dare you bully me?" My mother was like a madwoman, shouting and cursing. The relatives had to step in to stop her, but she was really out of control and would bite anyone who tried to stop her. My elder brother suddenly stepped in and pinned my mother to the ground. My mother froze and gasped for breath on the ground. Aunt Lucy didn't bully us. She even asked someone to help me find my job at the TV station. Otherwise, do you think the TV station would dare to hire someone like me who secretly took photos up a girl's skirt? My elder brother said heavily. My mother froze even more. My father also stared blankly at Aunt Lucy. Aunt Lucy's eyes turned red, and she shook her head bitterly. "Carl, it's good that you can change. You must change." My elder brother didn't say anything, and his eyes were red. My parents fell silent. After a while, my mother suddenly shouted, "Where's Julia?" Everyone was in a panic. Julia was gone. I held Julia's hand and raised it. "She's here, just now." When the crowd was in chaos, Julia was scared and cried. I pulled her into the house. "Sarah, you plague, don't touch Julia." My mother pounced on me and hugged Julia tightly. Her shoulder also knocked me down. I was dizzy and couldn't even get up. Aunt Lucy picked me up in a panic, and my uncle was about to deal with my mother again. I shook my head and came to my senses. I looked straight at my mother and at her angry face. It was a face that I was extremely afraid of. 2 years had passed, and it was still like a nightmare that lingered. "You little monkey, you're so dark and ugly. Get out of here. Look at what you look like. How could I have given birth to such a thing like you, you plague, you jinx? It's all because of you that our family was so poor." Every word, every sentence crashed into my young heart and never stopped. At the age of 2, 4, 6, 8, how long would it take for it to stop? So I said, "Mom, I've figured something out." My mother was stunned for a moment and frowned at me. All the relatives fell silent and looked at me in surprise. They were looking at me, a young child. I said, "Mom, I'm not a jinx, I'm a lucky star." My mother sneered. what nonsense are you talking about? Did your aunt teach you to say that? Ha ha ha, it's so ridiculous. I figured it out by myself. I stood up from Aunt Lucy's arms. I walked up to my mother, and my small body was taller than her when she was squatting. Mom, it was me who wished that you and Dad would become richer and richer. It was me who wished that my elder brother would be admitted to Harvard. On the day my younger sister was born, I looked at my elder brother. My elder brother also looked at me, his chest heaving, and his lips trembling a bit. Brother, the bread you gave me didn't taste good. I inserted a toothpick into it and made a wish. Mom, Dad, and you all got what you wished for. I said the words that I had thought about for a long time at this moment. My voice was childish. But the emotions I had suppressed were solemn. I was a lucky star, not a jinx. My elder brother shed tears. I know. I found your diary in the storage room. You wrote everything in it. I'm sorry, Sarah. After saying that, he walked away without looking back. The relatives looked at each other in dismay. My parents' faces changed constantly. My uncle came over and touched my head, then picked me up. Sarah is indeed a lucky star. Do you know, the first day we took her in, we won $50,000 later. When we needed money to take over the express delivery station, Sarah helped us win $100,000 again. She wishes me to have a lot of money every day, so we've become more and more prosperous. By the way, with Sarah's blessing, my wife is pregnant. My uncle was proud and excited. Everyone looked at Aunt Lucy. Lucy is pregnant. Why didn't you say anything? Yes, I'm pregnant. I planned to tell you after the baby was born. Aunt Lucy took off her coat and revealed her belly. It was obvious that she was pregnant. We're all very grateful to Sarah. Without her, we would still be doing odd jobs in a rented house. Aunt Lucy wiped the corner of her eye emotionally and smiled. So, to repay Sarah, this house is registered in her name. We bought this house for her. Aunt Lucy's words shocked everyone, and I didn't even know about this. The relatives were in an uproar and then felt deeply touched. My mother couldn't believe it. You bought a house for her, for this plague. Who else should we buy it for if not her? Sarah is my own daughter. I not only want to give her this house, but I will also give her half of my future property. We rough people only talk about money, no matter how many millions or tens of millions we earn in the future. Sarah will have half of it. My uncle was domineering and firm. He said this in front of all the relatives, just to let everyone witness his promise. All the relatives were excited and shouted one after another. June is really a man. Great. My parents' faces turned pale, and they looked dejected. They didn't say anything for a long time. Everyone looked at them, as if to see what else they could do. My father lost all his face and couldn't stay any longer. He quickly glanced at me and then pulled my mother to leave. My mother held the innocent Julia in her arms. The madness in her tired eyes had long disappeared. She was looking at me. I shrank into my uncle's arms until my mother and father left in disgrace. What happened that day caused a great stir among the relatives. I suddenly became the lucky star that everyone envied. I also received dozens of red envelopes, which were given by the relatives as compensation. They said that they had forgotten to give me red envelopes in previous years and had to make it up this time. What a bunch of snobs. They know to give red envelopes now. My uncle counted the red envelopes and said he would use them as my pocket money. Aunt Lucy was a bit listless and sad, because after that day, she and my parents were completely estranged. They would never have any contact with each other in the future. Perhaps it was precisely because of this estrangement that our family never encountered any unlucky things again. Every day, our family became more and more prosperous. The next summer, my younger sister was born. This was the first child of my uncle and Aunt Lucy. They named her Lucky. She was just like me when I was a child, dark and thin, with small eyes that could hardly open, and she slept every day. I felt sorry for her. Although I was only 9 years old, I had to be a responsible elder sister. My uncle and Aunt Lucy felt sorry for me and said that I didn't need to spend so much effort on my younger sister since we had a nanny at home. She's so small, I'm not at ease. This was my answer. I was small before, and no one worried about me. Now that my younger sister was small, I had to worry about her. My uncle and Aunt Lucy looked at each other and hugged me tightly. When my younger sister was 3 years old, she wasn't as dark anymore, and her eyes became bigger. She became good-looking, and I started junior high school. I was 12 years old. At the end of this year, I really developed. I was 1.65 meters tall, with fair skin, long black hair like a waterfall, and dressed like a girl from a wealthy family. I was just like a little princess. Aunt Lucy couldn't help but praise me every time. What was that poem? There has been no peerless beauty through the ages, and the pleasing sight is a beautiful woman. I almost died laughing. Aunt Lucy only graduated from primary school, but she liked reading very much. In recent years, she had been studying literature and often spoke in a pretentious way to make people laugh. I've also learned a line. People think it's good to have sons and daughters, but they don't know that sons and daughters make parents grow old. The meaning of this poem was that everyone said it was good to have children, but they didn't know that children made their parents age. Aunt Lucy also understood the meaning of this poem. She couldn't help but hug me and touch my head. Silly girl. On my birthday this year, my uncle opened a bank card specifically for me. Sarah, you're almost an adult. We're starting to save money for you. We'll deposit $30,000 every month until you graduate from university. You can use this money for your daily expenses. My uncle was still so generous. He now owns 7 express delivery stations, invested in 2 restaurants, and opened a luxurious bathhouse. He could earn $5 or $6 million a year. I accepted the card. I was almost an adult now. Also this year, I heard news about my parents, which I hadn't heard for a long time. A distant relative told Aunt Lucy about it. My elder brother and sister-in-law have had another son, because Carl left home a few years ago and hasn't come back or sent any news for years. My elder brother and sister-in-law were anxious, so they simply had another son. Now Julia is the elder sister. Aunt Lucy was very emotional. My uncle curled his lips. They're so poor, but they still had another child. They just had to have a son to inherit their shabby house, right? The shabby house has been sold. Now they're renting a house in the old urban area, the area where we used to live. Aunt Lucy sighed. Amazing. My uncle gave a thumbs up. I listened in silence. In the 3rd year of junior high school, the school organized students to visit the elderly in a nursing home. The nursing home was located next to the old urban area. Standing at the entrance of the nursing home, one could see large areas of old houses. A group of us students were dressed up beautifully. A few slovenly children at the entrance of an alley not far away were watching us. Among them was a girl of about 7 or 8 years old, wearing clothes that were obviously ill-fitting, carrying a child around 2 years old on her back, and looking over here curiously. I stared at her, looking at her big eyes and small lips, and felt a sense of familiarity. Her face should have been fair and pink, but due to excessive dryness, it was slightly chapped, causing her cheeks to turn red and not look very nice. The boy on her back was rather delicate and cute, with a white and chubby face, and his clothes were clean, indicating that he was well taken care of. I trotted over. When the girl saw this, she timidly shrank back. I asked her, "What's your name?" "I'm Julia." The girl replied in a hoarse voice. "Julia." My heart tightened. It was Julia. My most beautiful younger sister. She should be 8 years old, and her younger brother is 2 years old, but they seemed to be children from different families. Julia had become so ugly, while her younger brother was so beautiful. I opened my mouth, but there were so many things I wanted to say that I couldn't utter a word. I understood that Julia was no longer the lucky star. She had become like me, a thin and ugly jinx. Her younger brother was the new lucky star. I took out $200 of my pocket money from my backpack and handed it to Julia. Julia was both surprised and delighted, but she didn't dare to take it. "Your mouth is so dry. Go and buy some water." I stuffed the money into her hand. She finally took it, bent slightly towards me, and then ran quickly into the alley. After returning home, I was in a gloomy mood and still thinking about Julia. Aunt Lucy immediately noticed that I had something on my mind and asked me what was wrong. I hesitated to speak. Just then, my uncle came back home with our younger sister Lucky, and he also asked me what was the matter. Lucky stretched out her hands, trotted over, and threw herself into my arms, saying, "Sister, sister, a boy in the kindergarten said he likes me today. Lucky is so beautiful. Of course boys like you." I pinched Lucky's face. It was as if I was already an adult. After dinner, I still told my uncle and aunt about Julia. Both of them sighed. Aunt Lucy, with a kind heart, put forward the idea, "Why don't we adopt Julia too? Anyway, we're not short of money." My uncle asked for my opinion, and I nodded immediately. My uncle then asked for Lucky's opinion. Lucky was confused and said, "Another sister? Great, great." The next day, my uncle and aunt went to find my parents and didn't come back until the afternoon. There was a timid and pitiful little girl behind them. It was Julia. Julia was at a loss, her little face blushing with nervousness, and her head always lowered. She was so much like me. I ran over and hugged her, and for some reason, tears welled up in my eyes. Her parents asked for $880,000. They wouldn't accept a penny less, my uncle said. Aunt Lucy hit him, and then pulled me over and whispered, "Money isn't important. We originally wanted to adopt Tom too, but his parents refused no matter what. They just want a son to support them in their old age." Poor Tom. Yes, Tom was also pitiful. He had become the last lucky star in the family. After Julia joined our big family, she was at a loss for a long time. She was more mature and sensible than I was at her age, and she understood her own situation, so she was cautious in everything she did. She also thought of herself as a jinx. Once, she cried and said that it was because of her that her parents went bankrupt, and she was afraid that my uncle and aunt would also go bankrupt. Aunt Lucy felt so sorry for her that she cried immediately. My uncle waved his hand and said, "What, jinx or not, you and Sarah are both lucky stars." My uncle's words soon came true. His latest investment yielded a substantial return, amounting to a full $8 million. Haha, good lucky stars. When Sarah came here before, she helped me start from scratch. Now that Julia is here, she's helping me reach a new height. My uncle deliberately spoke loudly, aiming the words at Julia. Julia pretended not to care and turned the pages of a book, but in fact, she pricked up her ears to eavesdrop on our family's conversation. I saw that she finally smiled. I smiled too. My sister and I became closer and closer. Later, we slept together every night, chatting about the interesting things at school, which boy was handsome, and which girl had beautiful hair. Julia never cried again, until my senior year of high school. My father was sent to prison for injuring someone while drunk, according to Aunt Lucy. Ever since my parents received $880,000 from our family, they started living a carefree life. They didn't save the money but spent it lavishly every day and developed a lot of bad habits. Now the money was long gone, and they had lost their vitality. My father was even in prison, and my mother lived a muddled life doing odd jobs every day. As for my younger brother Tom, he had already been taken away by my grandmother in the countryside. Perhaps he would live an ordinary and hard life in the countryside. Julia cried for a long time but didn't say anything. I hugged her and also remained silent. When Julia was in junior high school, I was admitted to Peking University. This was a glorious thing that brought honor to the family. Just like when my elder brother was admitted to a prestigious school, naturally, a celebration banquet for my admission had to be held, and it was held on a grand scale. Aunt Lucy also invited my mother. But my mother didn't come. Aunt Lucy couldn't even find out where she was. However, there was some news about my elder brother. He somehow heard that I was admitted to Harvard. It seems there was a misunderstanding here as it was Peking University actually, and he specifically contacted Aunt Lucy and even sent back a gift. "Your elder brother isn't doing well now. He's working part-time and writing manuscripts. He calls himself a rat in the sewer. Someone who can never see the light of day and shouldn't see it either," Aunt Lucy said with emotion as she gave me my elder brother's gift. I opened it and saw my childhood diary and a red envelope with a stack of money in it. My elder brother wrote on the red envelope, "I wanted to make up for the birthday cake for you, but I'm in a faraway place and can't give you a cake. You can buy one yourself. The money for the cakes of the past 18 years is all here." I touched the crumpled stack of money and remembered the day when I was 6 years old. Only my elder brother remembered my birthday and threw me a tasteless bread. How time flies. After the celebration banquet for my admission ended, my uncle was going to take me to buy a new laptop to use in the university. I got into his Maybach. He joked, "Miss Sarah, I'll be your driver. You don't mind, do you?" "I don't mind. I also want to wish Uncle a lot of money." I put my hands together and said, "Amen." My uncle laughed heartily and drove me to buy the laptop. Halfway there, he suddenly hit the brakes, but still, he bumped into a woman who suddenly dashed out in front of the car. The woman let out an exaggerated scream, pounced on the hood of the car, and shouted loudly, "It hurts so much. Help, someone got hit, someone got hit, damn it." "She's a scammer." My uncle was extremely frustrated and opened the car door to get out. I found it novel and got out of the car too. "Help, he hit me, my waist is broken." The woman shrieked and kept slapping the hood of the car. My uncle grabbed her and lifted her up, saying, "You dare to try to extort money from me? Are you courting death? Look, he's threatening me. He's hitting." The woman raised her head and shouted, but her voice stopped abruptly. My uncle also stood there in a daze. Because it was my mother, the mother I hadn't seen for 3 years. My heart tightened and then relaxed. I stood there calmly, like a leaf falling from under the plane tree. My mother's messy hair was fluttering in the wind. She looked at my uncle and then at me, and her dirty throat twitched. I looked away. My uncle clicked his tongue, wanting to say something but not being able to. So he took out his wallet, pulled out a few red banknotes, and threw them to my mother, saying, "Is that enough? Get lost." My mother caught the money at once, her eyes shining brightly. She bent down repeatedly to thank him, saying, Okay, I'll go and treat myself." She ran away quickly. I stood by the car and watched her go. I saw her run behind a tree in the distance and hide there, because my mother always said, "It's better to have another good child and get rid of you, you good for nothing. Look at your hideous appearance, so short, thin, and dark. It makes me angry just looking at you, but..." My uncle hesitated to speak. In the end, he sighed and drove in silence. When the car passed by that tree, I glanced out of the window and saw my mother leaning against the tree, holding the money in her hand and crying with tears all over her face. The car drove away, and my mother was left behind. After graduating from university, I went on to study for a master's degree and then a doctorate, always swimming in the ocean of knowledge, of course, whenever I had time. I would go to the poverty-stricken mountainous areas. This was an initiative of Julia's. She is in university now and always cares about the children in the poverty-stricken mountainous areas, especially the girls. "Sister, let's build schools in the poverty-stricken mountainous areas in the future, especially girls' schools," Julia, now young, fashionable, and a beautiful urban woman, said. I asked her why she had such an idea. Her expression darkened. "In the poverty-stricken mountainous areas, many girls are regarded as jinxes and a burden, just like we were when we were children." These words made my heart ache, as if distant memories rushed into my mind and stirred crazily inside. Yes, how many jinxes and burdens are there in this world? I hugged her tightly and nodded firmly. Okay, I hope that my sister and I are the last jinxes and the last burdens. I hope that all the girls in the world are forever lucky stars and forever lucky charms. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts?